Warning, the following audio transmission will forever change your outlook on society. You will no longer believe the narrative. You are about to wake up and see things for what they really are. News, facts, and opinions. This is the Doom Daily Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Doom Daily Show. I am your host, Jester Doom. The email, doomdailyshow@gmail.com. Today is Wednesday. Hope y'all are having a lovely day. I hope you're riding to work right now, having your coffee and the sun's shining, and you are having a glorious day. Me, myself, I went to work on the ambulance today. For those of you that don't know, I work on an ambulance part-time, okay? Primarily doing transports. And I had a relatively good day on the ambulance. I actually honestly enjoy being on the ambulance and working that job more than I do the prison. There's more freedom. I get to do more. I get to get out. I get to have a cell phone. I get to do things, right? So it's a lot better in my eyes being on the ambulance than it is being at the prison. I got off work, came home, wife made a lovely little dinner. We had like this Caesar kind of cranberry salad that was good, with some chicken sausage and magic ketchup that does not contain tomatoes because the tomatoes are against my blood type diet. So I had a good dinner. One of my kids was sick today and I guess had to go home from the restaurant, and now he's fine. And my wife and I are kind of thinking maybe it's because of pollen season. Allergies can develop a little bit later, right? Maybe he's out a little bit more than he was previous pollen seasons. Maybe that's what's going on. But he was, very coughy and snotty and, went down for a nap and ruined his clothes. And, wife had to come home and change him and take him back to work with her. And it's got my, wheels turning. Is he developing some kind of allergies to the pollen in the air? That could very well be a thing. I don't know. He hasn't had an issue before. Now, me, on the other hand, it's what's really interesting is because right now the pine pollen is very thick in the air. When the wind blows, like that first big wind gust of the day, it looks like smoke coming off the trees. It'll turn your vehicles yellow. It doesn't affect me at all. But it's really odd? I have an allergy to pine oil. If pine oil touches my skin, it'll swell up, it'll break out, my hair follicles will go nuts. Pine oil is bad for Dooms. It's bad for Jester. Pine oil is bad. Also, if I'm doing a lot of woodworking with pine wood, say if I'm cutting down pine trees with a chainsaw, if I'm cutting a lot of 2x4s, things like this, I'll start having a reaction to it. Like my eyes will swell up, they'll dry out and get swelled up. My sinuses will start acting up. So Jester has some kind of pine allergy, but the pollen has no effect on me at all, which is, I think, is the craziest thing, okay? I've never ingested much pine. Like, I don't think I've ever had pine nuts or pine needle tea or anything like that to know if it would be something, if I'd ingested, if it would be a problem, but I'm not going to take any chances because anaphylaxis is a motherfucker, so we don't want to go down that road if we don't have to. Anyway, outside of that, I went to check on my truck today. My truck is done, but it's not done. So my truck, I took it in for general service, like I've been talking about. Maybe I've talked about that on the show. And, fluid changes, this, that. The other truck's got 125,000 miles on it. And I got a knock in the engine. Once the engine warms up, the knock goes away. The mechanic said, hey, I'll work on trying to figure out what this is. And I said, okay, cool. Can't figure out exactly what it is. And I looked at my mechanic. I said, I think I know what it is. And he says, what? I said, I think it's the timing chain tensioner. And he says, yep, I didn't want to say it, but that could be what it is. I think it might be that too. And I said, dude, I'm not ready to change that yet. I am not financially ready to change that yet. That's going to cost me probably at least $1,500 to have that work done on my truck. And the truck is fine to drive right now, so I'm going to keep driving it. Maybe we'll cross that bridge in about 6 months. I'll make an appointment. I'll go in there and I'll get that done. Right now, though, I'm not trying to spend $1,500 for service on my truck. But I'm going to get the truck tomorrow. I had to give my wife the money to get it for me because she will be able to meet with the mechanic tomorrow while I'm again on the ambulance tomorrow. I'm working 7 days in a row between the prison and the ambulance company, so it's going to be a really busy week, and I don't have a lot of free time to do anything. It's amazing to me I'm able to do this show right now for my lovely people here. So I had to go to the bank to pull money out of the ATM to give to my wife to, in turn, give to the mechanic. And I didn't know, because I don't ever pull money out of the ATM. Like, it's very rare that I pull out cash. I use a card a lot. And then when I sell things or I get, I'll typically get cash back, stuff like that, and I'll just let it accumulate, and then I'll have a stack of cash. If I need cash, I got it. And the way I spend money is like this, and the way I save money is the same way. I make sure that every day I leave the house, I have $40 in my wallet, and I barely ever spend it because I limit myself to only spending $40 when I leave the house on work days. If it's not a work day, I have a different wallet I take with me that has debit cards in it. And before you say to yourself, well, Jester, what if you have an emergency? Look, all bases are covered for me. If $40 ain't going to get me home, nothing is. All right? It's just that damn simple. And this prevents me from spending all the money I have at the bank while I'm out, right? It honestly prevents that. There's nothing to spend money on prison, guys. Like, when I'm in the prison, there's nothing to spend money on. I'm not buying anything there, really. Occasionally, some other people might be like, hey, Dooms, this is where we're going for lunch. You want something? I might say, yeah, sure, and throw $10 at some food. But it's rare that happens. Very, very rare. Okay, so anyway, I found out today I'm limited on what I could take out of the bank, which I wasn't happy about. And I thought it was just this one ATM. So I drive to another one. Needless to say, there's a tweaker there that's in my way that won't get out of my way for 5 minutes, and then limited, had to give my wife the money, but we are a team. We are a good marriage. We are a good team. So she goes, Dooms, I know you don't have all the money. Let me go ahead and cover the rest. And I said, okay, I love you. You're freaking awesome. Anyway, we'll be right back after these messages.
Hey, Producer Scooter here. First off, thank you for downloading and participating in the wide world of Jester Doom. Please be sure to check out jestersvoice.com website. Everything you want to know is located on jestersvoice.com. If you're looking for salacious details, it's on jestersvoice.com. Don't forget to share the show with your friends and even with all your enemies. And now, back to the musings of Jester Doom.
So the first thing we're going to get into on tonight's show is the CRUMBLEY case. If you guys don't know about this, there's a good article on Epic Times, also by the Associated Press. You guys can go check out. I don't want to tear too much into this because regardless of what I say, I'm going to be an asshole to somebody because I don't necessarily agree with the outcome, but I do at the same time. So I'm going to piss off both sides. And just to break this down for you guys, this is the CRUMBLEY case, okay? Basically, I believe a 15-year-old kid went and shot up a school, used a gun that his parents bought for him that they did not have properly stored or locked up, and the kid was having mental issues that the parents failed to address, and this is the first family, the first parents in the U.S. that have been charged for the repercussions of a child shooting up a school, okay? Now, they're shooting for 10 years for involuntary manslaughter for each parent. I don't know if sentencing has been imposed yet. I haven't got to catch much of the story today. But just to give you my breakdown of this, I could tell you, as a parent who has a son that has mental issues, nothing you do is ever right. So maybe whatever treatment they tried or didn't try to get him was just not working. And as a parent, you were wrong in the school's eyes, the government's eyes, the social service people's eyes, the counselors, the therapists, the psychiatrist. You're wrong as a parent. Let me just put that out there. So also, no two children are alike. So on one hand, like I said, maybe they're telling them to get this kind of help and it wasn't working for him and they just said, nope, this is the standard, that's what you have to do. Maybe it was making it worse and they pulled out of there. Maybe. Who knows? I don't know the extent of how much treatment they were trying to get. Also, I don't think they woke up in the morning and said to themselves, well, our kid's going to go shoot up a school today. Let's not do anything about that. I know there's talk in the media about a picture that he drew that was very, hey, I'm going to shoot up the school today kind of vibe. Who knows? Who knows how the parents reacted to that, if they took that seriously. Maybe the kid's been doing shit like this for years and they've been ignoring it and they're numb to it. I don't know. The one thing I do know, though, and the one reason I could drastically see, yes, they need to be sentenced. Yes, they need to be in prison. Proper firearm storage is everything, guys. It 100% is. You need to be storing your firearms safely and accordingly. Okay, this is not something to play with. This is not something to fuck around with. Because when these tragedies happen, they are extremely horrible and there's no coming back from them. There's no do-overs with this. There's just not. You feel me? Like, I'm a gun owner. I have a lot of guns in my house. The ones that I don't need access to on the regular are locked the fuck up, in a safe, locked up, safe, secure, fine, right? No one's getting in there without a cutting torch. They are safe, okay? The other few firearms I have out are because they are my daily carries or they're for varmint control, all right? I live in an area where there's coyotes and bears and all kinds of things, right? So I have one rifle available. If a bear or a coyote's trying to tear up one of the goats or something, I have a rifle I can access, but the kids cannot access it, right? I have handguns that are available for personal defense and for everyday carry that the kids cannot access, all right? And I make sure that these firearms are put up and stored and they're good, okay? And that's what these parents should have been doing. Why they didn't do that was stupid. Should they be held accountable for that? Yes. But should they be held accountable for knowing what their child was thinking? No, because who knows? Nobody knows. They can't read the kid's mind. Could they be held accountable for neglecting his mental health and not doing anything about it? I'm on the fence. I am on the fence. Deal with one of these issues for 18 years and then come fucking talk to me about it. Deal with it like I've dealt with it for 18 years of your damn life and then come talk to me about it. Because I've dealt with it for 18 years and we haven't had any issues like this one. But again, proper firearm storage. You can't comment on it till you've lived through it. I didn't live in that house. I don't know what's going on. The victim impact statements are holy shit. Go get online and read those. I'm not going to read through them all here on the show, but go read through them. Okay, just take the time, go read the victim impact statements. It'll tear you up. And that is their intent, and they work. Now, I'm also on the fence if both parents should be charged. I definitely think whoever bought the gun for the kid and left it accessible to the kid should be charged. Abso-fucking-lutely. Absolutely. But I don't know if both parents should be charged. I don't know about that. What do you think? Email me, doomdailyshow@gmail.com. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Do you think both parents should be charged, yes or no? That's simple. Send me an email. I'd love to know. I don't think for a second that if they had that firearm properly stored, this kid wouldn't have did something. He had it in his mind to hurt people, okay? And that could have been executed in different manners. He could have stole the car and drove the car through the school, running over a bunch of kids, maybe did more damage. He could have said, hey, I'm going to make some things that go boom and spread these around the school. He could have did something even more worse and showed up with a knife and, started going stabby. He could have did something different. If he had it in his head to do something, he was going to do something regardless if that firearm was accessible or not, okay? And again, would you charge a parent if they didn't lock up the kitchen knives and there was a stabbing? Now, I want to kind of break through something real quick here and say that this is going to open a door. It is going to open a can of worms because now you're really opening this up to every kid that does anything wrong, their parents could essentially be charged for. This instance I can agree with. You didn't lock the gun up. You bought him the gun. You weren't getting him the help that the kid needed. Okay? But what happens the day when you have your common nuclear family and nothing's wrong with it and your kid grabs a knife and goes to school and starts stabbing up the bully that was picking on him? Are you going to be charged with involuntary manslaughter because you didn't know your kid was being bullied by this kid and you didn't get this kid help for that? This is a slippery slope, guys. We're opening a big can of worms with this. Anyway, we'll be right back after this break.
Jester from It's Doomsday Podcast and the Doom Daily Show here. Do you ever find yourself overloaded with way too much information? Too many logins, too many passwords, too many websites for stuff you like? Yeah, I'm the same way. You don't have to worry about that with the Doom Daily Show and It's Doomsday Podcast. Let's make it simple. Just visit linktree.com/JesterDooms. Add it to your bookmarks. That way, when you need to find the right information, it's right there, under a tap of your finger or a click of your mouse. Go to linktree.com/JesterDooms. Get it, got it, done. Remember, no one has all the answers, but this will provide you with a place to start. linktree.com/JesterDooms. And now, on with the conversation. And here's Jester.
Most of you know I'm not a fan of banks, and I'm not a super huge fan of technology, okay? I'm just not. One thing I'm not a gigantic fan of at the moment is Bitcoin. And a lot of you are probably like, oh, Dooms, that's crazy. How Bitcoin's going to be the future, da-da-da-da-da-da. Listen, I'm not a fan of it. And this part of the segment of the show is mainly to talk about technology and where we're going with it, not necessarily about the Bitcoin, but we got to touch on it a little bit. Back when I was a kid, my parents would either pay cash or write checks. They would not use a debit card anywhere. They wouldn't do it. The only time they would use that stupid card was when they were going to the ATM at the bank they banked with to pull out cash to then go use the cash. And this was only when the bank wasn't open to walk in to use it, right? My parents were terrified of using these cards. They were scared shitless of it. As time went on, they got more and more used to it, and it became okay to do that. But this is not something that they got used to easy, just like, and that's what people are saying right now about the Bitcoin. Well, people aren't used to it yet. Well, Bitcoin's a very volatile currency. It's up, it's down, it's up, it's down. You might, listen, whenever you can use Bitcoin for goods and services and daily purchases without it drastically fluctuating every day, I say, cool, Bitcoin could be the new thing. But until then, it can't be. Because if it's up $2,000 in the morning, and then down $2,000 at night, what does that do for your price of gasoline when your Bitcoin's in there fluctuating? Were you up or down when you bought that gasoline? Because what that's doing is that's inadvertently them changing the cost of a gallon of gas without you being the wiser of it. Because you paid this much for it when Bitcoin was down, then Bitcoin goes back up. That's okay. You get what I'm saying? When it fluctuates, it changes what the price of what you're buying. So it doesn't make much sense. A cup of coffee could cost you $10 in the morning and then cost you $5 in the evening. You see what I'm saying? You picking up what I'm putting down. So not to mention this is a currency that is still controlled by the banks. And before you say, well, Jester, wait a minute. No, it's not. No, it's not. How do you get that Bitcoin back out? How do you turn it into cash to go make a cash purchase? Does the Bitcoin fairy come down from the sky and wave a magic wand and say, here's your cash, Mr. Bitcoin user? Thank you, Bitcoin fairy. I'll see you later. No, it's still regulated by the banks. And if you haven't noticed this since the pandemic, and before the pandemic, actually, a lot of people didn't know about it until the pandemic, which is like wild for me to even try to think about here. You can only take so much cash out of the bank per day. It is limited. If you want to take out a lot of money out of the bank, you kind of got to call ahead, make arrangements, plan it out, and go in and get your big ass lump sum of cash. Well, during the pandemic, they were drastically limiting people on what they could take out because everybody wanted to get their money out because everybody thought the world was coming to an end. So everybody wanted to pull money out, okay? So what do you think's going to happen if we have another situation and it's like, hey, I need to pull out all my Bitcoin, something broke bad, I need to turn it into cash, I want my cash, I want my money out of the bank right now. Well, dude, you're limited. Oh, that's bullshit, I've got $100,000 in Bitcoin. Yeah, but you have to change it into cash, and even once your fees are taken out, we can only give you $2,000 a day. It's still limited. And before anybody says the blockchain is secure, I understand. I don't trust it. You say what you want. There's backdoors into everything. I don't care. I don't care. Nothing on the internet is secure. Nothing out there in the ether is secure. I don't fucking care. There are backdoors built into shit. There are codes that are built into when they work with other codes. It opens backdoors. I don't care. I don't fucking care. I don't care about your stupid 26-word paraphrase or whatever other bullshit it is. I don't fucking care. It is there. No. But the reason I bring this up is because I really wanted to tear into the technology side of things, and I wanted to kind of open your eyes a little bit with where we've come in the last 100 years, just briefly. So 100 years ago, okay, 102 years ago to be exact, the first radio got put into a vehicle. Chevrolet put a Westinghouse radio in a vehicle. And holy shit, they probably didn't realize how much they were changing the world when they did that. And the reason why I wanted to particularly start here is because right now you're listening to me on the radio in your vehicle. That's what you're doing. And this was technology that started 102 years ago. Let that sink in. And we're still utilizing this technology right now. But 100 years ago, there was no Bluetooth connectivity. There wasn't a bajillion radio stations. There was no Spotify Connect. There was no CD player. There was no 45 cassette tape, MP3. None of that was a thing yet. All right. And then you had an absolute another breakthrough. In 1973, they made the first cell phone. Okay. And obviously at the time, that first year, these things weren't everywhere. They weren't even catching on yet. Right. Nobody had them. Very little people knew about them. If you lived in a rural community, there was no need for one because you didn't have any towers. Nothing was happening with these cell phones. So isn't it wild? 100 years ago, you didn't have radios in cars. We just started putting radios in cars, okay? And then now, in the 70s, we create the cell phones. Now, you're listening to me from your cell phone to your radio. That's where we're at in 2024. Now, what's wild is I'm sitting here in my FJ Cruiser recording the show on a microphone and a cell phone that could fit in my pocket, okay? Let that sink in. I have a full-blown studio with a giant mixer and a computer and this, a screen and all these mics and everything else, and I'm able to do this show in my vehicle. I'm able to record this 30-minute episode. And then whenever I'm done, I'm going to walk into my house. I am going to upload this, send it off to producer Scooter. He's going to edit it, clean it up, make it sound good. And then in the morning, it'll be there for your listening pleasure. Now check this out. This is what's crazy. 20, 30 years ago, if I wanted to get this show that I recorded, right, to producer Scooter, I'd have to ship it. This file couldn't be sent through the internet. Maybe it would take a year to get there, but I mean, it was a very illogical thing. You weren't shipping this, you were shipping this. You weren't sending this via email. It wouldn't have been a thing 30 years ago, okay? And that's where we've come. So back, early 1900s, and I hate to say it that way, but early 1900s, we just started putting radios in cars. In the 70s, we just started putting the cell phones out there. They didn't really start taking off till the 90s, right? Now, you're sitting there, 2024, in your vehicle, listening to me, coming through your radio on a show that I recorded with a cell phone and sent halfway across the country to be edited, that's then going to be sent out for the world to listen to, all right? So when you sit down and you think about, wow, we haven't come that far yet in the realm of things, like all these things happening over, all these decades, it seems like we're going really slow and it's taken some time. I want you to think about this. The cell phone you carry in your pocket is basically this little miniature supercomputer that can do all these different things. It's GPS enabled. You can track it. You can guide by it. You can do all this. I can record to this phone. There's a full photo editing studio in your phone. Remember when you used to have to take your film in to get developed? Remember when you had to mail that shit out? Now, I could snap a picture of my shoe and send it to producer Scooter in all of 5 seconds.
Send me a picture of Jelly Shoe. Jester will be right back after this message.
Can't get enough of Jester Dooms? Check out his other show, It's Doomsday Podcast, available on all podcast platforms. That's It's Doomsday Podcast.
Back to the show. We've made leaps and bounds with technology, but they all seem small because it's just part of our daily lives and we're just rolling with the punches, all right? And I wanted to shed some light on this just to kind of make you guys aware of where we came from, where we're at now, and where we're going. Because this future that's coming with the technology that's coming is going to be a very, very scary place. And I bring this up to bring up the next part of the internet has already taken over. It's already taken over. We all live our lives online. We are all very subservient to the power companies to keep our lives online. And it's getting very scary because what this is doing is it's giving the elites and people in power control over us. A lot of control over us. Mega amounts of control, okay? So one thing I want you guys to consider when you are, say, buying new appliances for your house or you're trying to upgrade something, be aware when you're purchasing that item, like ask yourself the question, can this item be controlled? You guys heard me talk about how my stove, the glass just popped and shattered everywhere the other day. I've been now shopping for stoves and looking around, and a lot of them are like Wi-Fi enabled. Why in the hell do I need a Wi-Fi enabled stove? Why is that a thing? And then I come to find there's Wi-Fi enabled dryers, washing machines, dishwashers, refrigerators, microwaves. Why does everything need to be Wi-Fi enabled? And I understand there are some actual legitimate reasons. If you left the house and you left the oven on, I understand it's nice to be able to go back and check to see if you left the oven on. But who the fuck is actually doing that? Who the fuck is in the middle of cooking a damn meal and runs out the door and leaves a pot of spaghetti on? Nobody's doing that. If you are doing that, you're an idiot, okay? And I understand if the fridge had a power outage, it would be nice to know about it. That way you can throw away bad food and not make yourself sick. But let's be honest. Anybody that's going on vacation for an extended period of time is probably going to throw out whatever's going to go bad anyway in the event of that. And then if you're only gone for 8 hours a day and you lose power to the fridge, it's not something that you really have to worry about. If it went out for an hour, your food's still good, people. It's fine. But they are trying to convince us to get everything connected and be on networks, even our vehicles. And it's crazy to me that society is just going along with this because your privacy is being violated daily. If you don't think you're being monitored through these devices, you guys are crazy. Forget the targeting ads. Start thinking about deviant behavior. What shit are you putting in that fridge that's monitoring? How often are you running that stove? How many times a week are you doing laundry? How many times a day are you opening and closing that fridge? What happens when the power company comes out and says, hey, your carbon footprint's getting too big. We're turning your oven off for 3 weeks to reduce your carbon footprint. What happens when they say, you know what? You're not allowed to do laundry this week because your carbon footprint's getting too big. You got to wait a week before you can do laundry again. What happens when the power company starts coming out and saying, hey, you're opening this fridge door too much. We're going to need you to calm down on that. What happens when the power company says, you've ran this microwave too much. You've ran this coffee pot too much. You're charging your car too much. We need you to reduce your carbon footprint. Because something nobody's really bringing up is the amount of power that the EVs are taking to recharge and how much of a strain it's putting on the grid, especially in winter months when everybody's cranking up electric heat. Now, tell me this. The government wants you to buy an EV. They want you to get rid of your gas stove. Why? The short answer, ladies and gentlemen, is control. And that's what we'll talk about tomorrow. I hope you have a good day at work. We'll see you guys on the next show. The email, doomdailyshow@gmail.com. Scooter, I'll see you in a little bit.
Not if I see you first.
News, facts, and opinions. This is the Doom Daily Show.